if Imam Shafi'i's opinions changed when he moved to Egypt, does this mean, in theory, if he traveled more places, it would change too? Or did his usul stay the same? This is a beautiful question. Thank you so much for asking this question. And it would be my pleasure to share with you some of the insights. So my teacher, my late teacher, rahimahullah ta'ala, Shaykh Taha Quran, a world-renowned scholar of the Shafi'i school, this was one of the lessons that he drilled into us as a student. In fact, I recall visiting one of the world-famous calligraphers in Egypt along with my teacher while I was studying. And at the time, we visited the book fair in Egypt, and this question was discussed at this particular calligrapher's home, Dr. Mustafa Amri. And the question is something that happens to be a frequently repeated misconception, especially among modernists and postmodernists. And that is that Imam Shafi'i, he changed his views. We have a qawl jadid because a qawl jadid means his new opinions. We have this because we need to differentiate it from the qawl qadim, from his older opinions. And essentially what this means is that when Imam Shafi'i moved from Iraq to Misr, that he changed some of his views. And to differentiate the differences there, we look at the qawl jadid, which means the new opinions, and the qawl qadim, which is the older opinions, obviously then implying that the later opinions of the great Imam, those are the ones upon which the madhab should be based and not the old opinions, and that is the general case. So to cut a very long discussion short, the assumption makes logical sense that because the Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala, changed his circumstances and his context, therefore he took those circumstances into consideration and changed his opinions. But this is an assumption based purely on circumstances or purely on the historical narrative. Upon empirical research, meaning if one were to take, and this has been done, if one were to take an empirical view of all of the Imam's changes in opinion, meaning where did he change his opinion? It wasn't in every case. He did not discover an entire new perspective on fiqh, but rather there were specific issues upon which he changed his views. So if one were to do an empirical study of that and try to determine or ascertain where the context of his geographical location or the cultural context or any of the other forms of physical aspects of his environment, where did that play a role in his changing of his opinion? You would actually find that there isn't a single case that this can be pinpointed as Imam Shafi'i changed his opinion here because he was now in Egypt and things were done differently. Rather, his opinions were changed based on discovery of adillah or a revision of adillah, meaning a discovery of proofs that he perhaps would not be as privy to before his moving there, or a revision of his proofs. Because remember, when he reached Egypt, he was 50 years of age. It was the year 200 after Hijrah, and he remained there for the last 4 years of his life, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he was able to, at this point in his life, synthesize between the teachings that he now received in Iraq, predominantly from the Hanafi school, along with the teachings that he had received earlier from his teachers like Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala. So he was able to synthesize these and therefore arrived at new principles, or usul as you rightfully put, and therefore reached new conclusions to some of the issues that he revisited. This doesn't mean that we completely discard the older views. In fact, there are a few instances in which the Shafi'i school, the madhab, the official view of the madhab, actually takes his older opinion into consideration as opposed to his newer opinion. And the one example that I can immediately think of would be the length of the waqt of Maghrib. So the length of the waqt of Maghrib in the Shafi'i madhab as it stands now is that Maghrib's waqt lasts until the entrance of Isha's waqt. Whereas in the qawl jadid of Imam Shafi'i, the waqt of Maghrib is only given to the extent of how long it would take to pray 5 raka'at and preparing for those 5 raka'at, and that's it. So the opinion of the Shafi'i school is actually given according to the Qadim view, the older view. The normal case is that the opinion is given according to the newer views. But there are instances where the older views apply. And as you can see, even in this example, it's based on the dalil. It's based on the interpretation of the dalil. And there are several ahadith pertaining to this issue, where Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam taught the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam about the awqat of salah. So again, to round off that question, the opinions of Imam Shafi'i, yes, it went through transitions from his learning in Medina, in the Hijaz, to his learning in Iraq and then in Misr. But the opinions were not based upon cultural circumstances or a change in times and a change in culture and people, etc. They were based on adillah and the application of the usul to those adillah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.